Well, we've got busy winter weather all around the country from coast to coast, and in the deep south, it's flash flooding and severe weather as the stormy pattern across the United States continues, and it's going to go through the weekend and probably into next week. And we'll talk all about that and more tonight on the Joe and Joe Weather Show podcast, which you can easily support very simply by doing your Amazon shopping using the referral link that's pinned to the top of the chat board or on the descriptor to this podcast. It's just very easy. Search for your stuff. You buy it. Amazon throws us back a little bit of coin for sending you there. It doesn't cost you 1 cent whatsoever. It's all out of Amazon's pocket. And we appreciate that some of you have done this. And we appreciate and thank you for considering supporting the Joe and Joe Weather Show podcast. Hi.
Hello.
So, how much snow did you get last night?
Excuse me?
How much snow did you get last night? If you got any at all. You got zero.
Big goose egg.
Yeah,
Nothing.
you had to be down like southern Rockland and just north of 287, got about an inch. And
Well,
then,
Dan Thaler, who is the cooperative observer for Shrub Oak, and that's just Shrub Oak is like a 8 or 10 minute drive south of where I am, along Route 6 in northern Westchester, and he said he got a trace. Now,
okay.
I don't know exactly, what did he get, like a sugar coating or something? But the snow stopped by the time it got up to where I was, so we had absolutely nothing here in Putnam Valley.
New York City got an inch and a half, which puts them in double digits for the season. So they will not have to endure the shame of 3 years in a row of less than 10 inches of snowfall for a given season. They're up to 11.4 or 11.5. I think 11.4. 11.4. And there were some pretty hefty amounts in South Jersey. There were a lot of 6, 7, 8 inch amounts, and down into Delaware and eastern Maryland, Washington D.C. got half a foot. Jersey Shore, 2, 3 inches in central Jersey. Parts of Monmouth County got 4, and much of Long Island got 2 to 3. Not bad.
So it looks like we've got 3 storms to watch now over the next week, and the first two, the one coming our way for tonight into tomorrow, and the next one over the weekend looks like more rain than snow for many of us. And then the big question mark is what may happen next week. And if you looked at some of the long range model guidance, if you're a snow lover, you are in love with the GFS. The Canadian model says what storm? There ain't gonna be a storm, and somewhere in between, actually maybe leaning more toward the Canadian as opposed to the GFS, is the European, which gives more or less a glancing blow. But we'll get
Well,
more into that.
all three models have that same look at the 500 millibar level. It's very dynamic, and we're still not going to know for another 4 or 5 days how this
Oh, of
plays.
course,
Even
of course.
a model that I don't, I very rarely look at, but I was told to look at it today, so I did. It was the JMA, the Japanese model, and it was just in absolute line with all of them. And I didn't see the European was delayed for a long time this afternoon. It didn't come in till after 4:30. I
Right.
don't
I
know
know.
if the APHIS, the European AI version, which last night had a almost perfect setup for a major snowstorm in the eastern part of the United States. I don't know what the afternoon APHIS did. I haven't had a chance to look at it. But look, none of this is going to be resolved tonight. We still have a lot to go here with regards to how this whole thing evolves. And in the meantime, I don't think too much is going to happen tonight. I know they got winter weather advisories plastered all over the place in inland areas, but the radar is a little bit underwhelming. I don't think it's going to be any, the stuff on the radar was kind of on the patchy side. So, yeah, I suppose there's going to be a little bit of freezing rain and maybe a little bit of snow in some inland spots, but I don't expect anything I don't think it's going to be too problematic. And then it's out of here tomorrow morning, and we should be on the mild side tomorrow until the cold air comes in. tomorrow night and Friday, and then we're going to crank up the wind machine again.
Absolutely. In what has been one of the windier winters that we have had in recent years, seems like 2 or 3 times a week we get into a pattern where the winds are gusting past 20 and 30 miles an hour, and that's exactly what's going to happen again beginning later tomorrow and carrying right over into Friday.
So, just a heads up to everybody: tomorrow night I will be doing a talk at 7 o'clock with the New Jersey weather observers. Don't know yet whether I'm going to carry it live, and then we're going to follow up at 8:30 tomorrow night with the Joe and Joe Weather Show podcast. What I may do is record it and then upload it as a separate video. So that might be the easier way for me to work this for tomorrow. So I'll probably record it, and then we'll have our regular show tomorrow at 7:30. I'm sorry, at 8:30 Eastern time. So I hope that works for you, Mr. Rayo.
Certainly does. I'm very flexible, just as you have been very flexible for me. I'm certainly flexible for you.
Oh, I'm as flexible as was what was the what, was it Banamo, the Turkish taffy?
What?
What
B
was
O N O N
yeah,
O.
was that
Bonamo.
the Bonamo Turkish taffy? Was that what it
Yeah,
was? I'm
yeah.
about as I'm about as flexible as that.
Or silly putty.
Or silly putty, yes. All right, welcome tonight, everybody on the chat board. Hope you had a great day. Welcome to those of you who are not on the chat board but watching the show tonight. And as I like to refer to it, you're lurking in the background here on the Joe and Joe Weather Show podcast. We're here Sunday through Thursday, and again, most of the time at 7:35 p.m. with Friday and Saturday off. But as I said, tomorrow night we will have our show at 8:30 p.m. Eastern time. So subscribe. Only need about, I think it's 54 more subscribers for 15,000, which would be nice. And turn your notifications on so you don't miss us. If you like the show, hit the like button, because we like being liked, and we always like to go over 100 likes. And on occasions, we go over 200 likes, and Joe gets to ring his bell and sound his horn, or blow his horn. All right, so shall we begin?
We shall.
Okay, so the Christmas tree starts the show tonight, and that's what I usually refer to the National Weather Service Watches and Warnings map, which once again is lots of colors, means that there's lots of weather going on. We've got in the Northeast, we have winter storm warnings in northern Maine. We have winter weather advisories that extend southward from there through the rest of New England, except southeastern New England, uh, north and west of New York City, the northwestern counties of New Jersey, a good chunk of Pennsylvania, and then it kind of funnels down into the Alleghenies. And we've got various ice storm warnings up in parts of West Virginia and northwestern Virginia. Also, still some winter storm warnings up in southwestern Virginia, where they had a lot of snow and now they've gone over to freezing rain. Flash flood watches in eastern Kentucky, southwest Virginia, eastern Tennessee, northern and northwest Georgia, including me, much of northern Alabama, into Mississippi. We have 2 working tornado watches up, and all those reds you see there, that's all flash flood warnings in southern Mississippi. They've just been getting pounded with rain. Back to the Great Lakes, western Ohio, Michigan, the lower peninsula, not the upper, southern Wisconsin, northern Illinois, northern Indiana, all under winter weather advisories. We have winter storm warnings in eastern Michigan, southeastern Wisconsin, including Milwaukee, and much of southern and eastern Iowa, and a few counties in western Illinois and western Wisconsin, southwestern Wisconsin, under winter storm warnings. In the plains, we have cold weather advisories and extreme cold in the beautiful blue that's up there in North Dakota. Further west, winter storm warnings from western Wyoming and central Utah, going back across Idaho into Oregon and much of the interior of northern and central California. Flash flood watches on the west side of those mountains, the Sierra Nevadas. Wind advisories up and down the California coast, as well as some inland areas, flash flood watches in southernmost California around San Diego. And we have winter storm watches up in parts of northwest New Mexico and in a bunch of counties in the western half of Colorado. So, probably would have been easier for me to just say the areas that don't have anything going on.
Probably, because you're right, it is like a Christmas tree. I'd have to say at least two-thirds of the map of the contiguous United States has some form of advisory or warning or watch in effect. And again, it ranges from winter weather advisories to cold warnings to severe weather, right down in the lower end of Alabama and portions of Louisiana. It's just amazing.
By the way, I'm going to add a couple of frames to this satellite loop just to get a little extra daytime in here. And the one thing that struck me, if you look at the very first frame as the loop starts, is there anybody that saw, except for that hole in around Utah, northern Arizona, northwest New Mexico, and some parts of southwest Texas and Florida. Was there anybody today that had sunshine? I mean, look at that overcast that just runs everywhere from west to east. And then if you look on the west coast, you got a ton of moisture starting to come into the U.S. So very, very busy here with all this weather. Gulf of Mexico moisture streaming northward. And, this first weather system, the logo's pretty far to the west. Uh, sometimes when you get these storms that go up the west side of the Appalachians, they can be big rain producers, but I don't think this is going to be a big rain producer overall overnight into tomorrow morning for areas in the Northeast that are just getting plain rain. And as a result, the snow amounts that are going to fall up to the north and northern New York and into northern New England, they'll be typical, but there won't be anything crazy.
No, and in fact, behind the front, the cold front that's going to be driven across the tri state area early tomorrow afternoon, there's a good deal of subsidence or sinking motion behind it as the cold air tries to push in. And as a result, I think we're going to see a rather lovely afternoon. The first part of the day, the morning, will be rather dreary with clouds and a lingering rain or shower activity. But once we get into that drier air in the afternoon, we should see the sun come out and temperatures will possibly warm up all the way into the mid 40s. And that, Joe, will be the warmest temperature that we have seen locally here since a week ago. Last Wednesday was the last time we had temperatures that were in the 40s around here. And it looks like we could very well get into the 40s again tomorrow for a few hours. Enjoy it while it lasts because, once again, much colder weather will be sweeping in for Friday and for the upcoming President's Day weekend.
By the way, I went back to the watches and warnings map because I did want to mention that in north central New York, they already have lake effect snow warnings up. There's going to be some pretty interesting lake effect going on over the next 5 to 7 days in parts of upstate New York. And also a winter storm warning up. I'm not sure what county that is. That's right along the St. Lawrence River, a very northern part of New York State. But I just wanted to bring that back up because, again, the lake effect is going to be a big deal over the next 5 days or so. Meanwhile, as we take a look at the radar tonight, uh, we've got some precip in central and south Jersey, down to Delaware and into Maryland and Virginia. Now, a lot of this, interestingly, a lot of this area picking up, anywhere from 4 to 8 inches of snow yesterday. Washington, D.C. got 6. I don't know what Baltimore got. But basically, the snow ended this morning, and now they've just had a fairly long duration event of snow, and without a break, they're getting into some rain to wash it all away. But again, not a whole lot of what's here is doing very much. We have some snow that is, I think it's snow up along I. Can you check the obs up around along I-90, like at Syracuse and Albany, just to make sure that that's snow and not something else? But I mean, I
Yeah,
don't think it's not rain, but I don't mean in case it's like freezing rain or something, or something.
yeah,
Um,
yeah.
but I imagine that's mostly snow.
I'm doing that right now for you. Hang on for a
Thank
moment.
you so much, Joe. You don't know how much I appreciate it.
Well,
I can't.
Syracuse right now has 26 and light snow,
Okay,
and looking around elsewhere, we have Albany is 25, but they have nothing, just a lot of overcast skies. Um,
I imagine Binghamton's got to be snowing.
say Binghamton is right now 25, light snow, fog, and mist. And you know
Okay,
what happens? And you know what happens, Joe and I, when I'm in a foggy condition, I tend to miss a few things.
yes, you do.
Yeah.
We've got snow on the Canada side of Lake Erie and Lake Ontario. We also have snow over much of the state of Michigan, back through Wisconsin, northern Illinois, southeastern Iowa. Actually, this is the western part of this is kind of moving along at a decent clip. Heavy rains across Tennessee, Mississippi, Alabama should be reaching me shortly in the next few hours. We had a fair amount of rain earlier today, and once again, I didn't get out of the 40s. It was another really miserably raw day here, and we've got some tornadoes tonight. We've got a couple of tornado warnings in southern Mississippi as well as in southern Alabama. And all the green boxes, those are all flash flood warnings, numerous flash flood warnings from heavy rains that have been going on in parts of southern Mississippi and back also on the Louisiana side. And there isn't much going on until you get to the West Coast, where we're beginning to see some moisture coming in off the coast of California. The Storm Prediction Center tonight has a enhanced risk. You can see there's two working tornado watches that are up in parts of Alabama, southern Mississippi, and southeast Louisiana. But the risk area is enhanced with a marginal risk extending almost, but not quite, to me in North Georgia. And that in that enhanced risk is a 10% tornado risk, and it's a hatched area, so that says that there's a potential here for perhaps some EF2 or greater activity to occur in that zone. Now, tomorrow we just go to a marginal risk, a small area on the Florida Panhandle, southeast Alabama, and southern Georgia. Then on Friday into Saturday, no severe weather is forecast, but you do see the beginnings of what's going to be maybe a severe weather event for Saturday, because we do have an area of general thunderstorms kind of nosing its way out of the Gulf of Mexico into East Texas, western Louisiana, up into Arkansas, Tennessee, and Kentucky, southern Missouri, and southeast Oklahoma. The SPC does have severe weather indicated in their long range on day 4. So this is for Saturday into Sunday morning. They have an implied slight risk. Actually, no, I'm sorry. They have an implied enhanced risk for Saturday for northern Louisiana, southeast Arkansas, much of Mississippi, and the western part of Alabama. So they've already got an enhanced risk. You got to wonder whether by the time we get there, and that's going to be with the weekend storm system, which is going to, I wouldn't call it a major storm, but it certainly will be a bit of a powerhouse. They wouldn't be a surprise if we wind up getting a little bit of a moderate risk somewhere in there.
Well, we're looking on Sunday for here in the tri-state area, Pennsylvania, New York, New Jersey, Connecticut, for precipitation that could actually be heavy rain or even a soaking rain, or even perhaps we could call it a windswept rain. I think, again, we want to put the emphasis more on the rain. I know that the television stations love to lead off by scaring people and saying, and another chance for snow or snow and ice. But as Joe has just mentioned, the one coming up tonight into tomorrow is going to be more rain than anything else. Yeah, admittedly, starting off with a bit of snow and ice. And the one on the weekend, too. Although that one may be a more of a significant, I'm thinking that, Joe, I don't know about you, but like later Saturday and Saturday night snow, going over to sleet, and then going over to rain.
Yes.
What I'm not looking forward to is the possibility of getting even an inch or two of snow and then having an inch of rain falling on top of all of that. That's going to turn into a gloppy mess during the day on Sunday. So that's what we're up against over the next 2, 3, 4 days. And just backing up further, you were talking about snowfall totals. I do have snowfall totals. District of Columbia, 3 miles northeast of Washington, 5.7 inches of snow in Baltimore City. I didn't even know there was a Mount Washington. 1 mile north of Mount Washington, Baltimore City, 3.7 inches of snow today or this morning. And looking around also, I'm trying to find some higher amounts in Baltimore County, Perry Hall, east northeast of Perry Hall, 4 inches. Deal in Anne Arundel County, Deal, Deale, 1 mile southeast of Deal, 7.0 inches. Birdsville, west southwest of Birdsville in Anne Arundel County, 6.5. So it's obvious that the folks who are south, well south of the immediate tri state area, were the winners with this snow amount. Prince William County, Lake Ridge, 8.5 inches. Dale City in Prince William County, 8.3. So King George County, 7.0 inches of snow. So that's where it all happened this morning was across portions of Maryland and Northern Virginia. Fairfax County, Hybla Valley in Fairfax County, 8.5 inches. Culpeper County, Jeffersonton, 8.0. So you want the snow? You got to go. So, oh, wait a minute. Here are the really big numbers. Augusta County in Virginia, Augusta County, Somerdine, 11 inches. Hermitage, 10. And Mint Spring, 9.4 inches of snow. There
All
you
right.
go.
Steve Lapointe bringing up Cape May. Thanks, Steve, for bringing that up. Cape May, New Jersey got 8 inches, and I think Atlantic City might have gotten 6 or 7. Um, it was it was a pretty healthy event for parts of coastal and South Jersey away from the immediate shore, which got less. Um, as I heard about it from Alan, he was not happy this morning because he only got 2 or 3 inches out of it. And Tom's River on the other side of the bridge got about 5.5. All right, WPC's rainfall. I'm sorry, melted precip, so liquid precip amounts. Everybody in the east getting something. Where it's cold enough for snow, you're looking at some big amounts in terms of 1.5 to 2 inches of liquid up the St. Lawrence River Valley. And this is going to be a big snow producer for that area. Again, parts of western New York, north central New York, western New York, into Ohio and Pennsylvania. It's the mix of the storm systems and the lake effect that's going on. Big additional rains in Kentucky and Tennessee in some areas up to 5 inches over the next 7. We're looking at um, remember it's been raining here since yesterday, and we have an additional 1.5 to 2.5 inches or more across much of the Gulf states. In the coastal Northeast and into the Mid Atlantic, we're looking at 1.5 to maybe 2.5 inches of liquid precip over the next 7 days, which takes us right through Wednesday night. So, more of this is going to be from the Saturday Sunday system than the first one that's going on tonight. In the West, the Rockies, uh, lots of areas highlighted there in purple. That's all melted 1.5 inches of liquid. So you're talking about maybe 1 foot to 1.5 feet of snow or more in in these mountains in the central and northern Rockies. And in the West, up and down the West Coast, we're looking at several to many inches along the immediate coast of California, all the way down to San Diego. And in the Sierra Nevadas, we're looking at 10 inches or more of liquid here in the next 7 days. And the bulk of that is going to wind up being snow. WPC, I'm jumping here to Friday. Did they change the map again? Oh, no, they didn't. I'm sorry. So I have this set for this is ending Saturday evening. at 7 o'clock. So if there's snow going on after 7 o'clock, it's not included. So I got the probability here of at least an inch on the map, Joe. So they have the 50% line runs across northern New Jersey to just north of New York City, coastal Connecticut, and points northward. Now we're probably going to have to add one more period here. I was thinking maybe all along the lines of at least for inland areas, Saturday afternoon into later Saturday afternoon into the first part of Saturday night. I think some inland areas could get a burst of at least 2 to 3 inches out of this before it goes over to rain.
Yes, I would agree with you on that. I mean, this is actually, as you point out here, through zero Z Sunday. It's still going to be snowing after zero Z Sunday or 7 p.m. Saturday evening. It will still be snowing, and it really won't change over until later on in the night. So you get an inch out of the first batch that is up until 7 p.m. You're likely to get another inch or maybe a couple of inches on top of that. And then, unfortunately, comes the changeover to sleet and ice, and then the heavy rains that come on Sunday. And I don't know. I'm probably am going to go to bed on Saturday night, with maybe an inch or two or three. And you certainly don't want to use the snow blower. You don't want to be outside shoveling and scraping at midnight or 1, 2 in the morning. So I just got to wait until Sunday morning and look out the window and see what we have, because what we probably will have will be about 2 or 3 inches of slush with all that rain coming down. And don't, I love how people say, oh, the rain will wash away. No, it doesn't wash away. It gets mushed, it gets slushed down, but it doesn't get washed away. You want to get rid of the snow. One factor or one element would be fog, and
Wind.
we might get some fog with this system on Sunday, but certainly not enough to just get rid of all the snow. So there
You
you
might
go.
get some wind too.
Might get wind as well. Yeah, wind is. And here's the sad the thing about this is, if you're out there on Sunday to get rid of all the slushy, stuff out there, do it. You got to do it, because it is going to turn very cold in the wake of all of this Sunday night, and especially Monday and Tuesday. So whatever's out there ain't going anywhere early next week with the cold weather. And yes, I see all the icons with the bells, and there's your bells. We're over 100 likes right now.
All right, WPC. Now this is on their long range, so this actually was Saturday into Sunday with a probability of at least, let's call it, a few inches of snow with maybe some sleet on top of it. Okay, and they have, the 30 to 50% line. Uh, Looks like it's just right on the border of the Bronx and Westchester. And head up the Hudson Valley toward Route 84 and points northward. You get into the 70 to 90% probability. So they have a 50 to 70% probability for you, Joe, for at least a few inches before any changeover. And of course, you've got highlighted areas in red in the Catskills, and in the areas up to the north as you head toward north central New York, or through central New York, where you have a 90% probability of at least a few. Also in the mountains in western Massachusetts, with a 90% probability. Again, this takes us into Sunday morning. Now, Sunday into Monday, the storm system will be pulling away to the northeast, but you start to wake up the lake effect, and you can see they have a 50 to 70% chance in western and southwestern New York and northwest PA, 30 to 50 in northeast Ohio, and very high probabilities of at least a few inches in New Hampshire and Maine. Monday into Tuesday, lake effect in north central New York. Otherwise, not much. And this is the follow up, the beginnings of the next storm system that we've been talking about the last few days, with the energy that's coming out down from Canada, and the system that we talked about last night have being a potential KU system, which is a Kosin uh, Uchilini
Mussolini. Yep.
Ussolini uh, type system for the East Coast. Of course, it's a puzzle that has many pieces to it, but you can see that the at least the initial area here is being highlighted for Tuesday into Wednesday across Kansas, Missouri, southern Illinois, southern Indiana, western Kentucky, down into Arkansas and Oklahoma. So a 10 to 30% chance for at least, and this would be all snow in here for most of this area, so we'll call it a 30% chance for at least 3 inches. So here's our first system. Now I'm going to just do a little upper air. We've got a deep trough in the west. We've got ridging here in the east. So, this is not the type of upper air to set up for a snowstorm for the East Coast, obviously, but it is part of the puzzle to get us to what might be a way to set one up. That trough is going to swing through the Great Lakes and into the Northeast on Friday. We'll chill down a bit, then it pulls out. Ridge builds back up ahead of another deep trough, and this is going to make the storm system for the East for Saturday night into Sunday. And then here comes very cold air behind it for the first half of next week. Now we see that upper low. I want to widen out at this point so we can take a look. Here's the setup in Canada. We've been talking about the fact that you've got this big block that is over Greenland and the Alaskan Ridge just kind of merged together. So that just forces the polar vortex further south. This is on Monday. You've got the core of the cold air sitting over the northern Great Lakes. Part of that trough is going to move east toward Newfoundland and Labrador, and you're going to get a 50-50 low. In the meantime, the next energy is dropping down from Lake Winnipeg to Lake Superior underneath the block. Now, I think, Joe, the key to all of this is going to be that 50-50 low because the models are trying to figure out, is it going to hang there for a little bit, which would force this system to dig, or is it going to pull out, which will keep this, it'll still be a vigorous system. And you see it here, it's a wrapped up upper low. It's like 4 or 5 contours closed over the Great Lakes, and then that swings up and stretches eastward across New England. I mean, this would be a pretty sizable snowstorm if it were to verify. And the thing that struck me through all of today looking at this, and this is the Japanese model, the JMA. I mean, it's virtually identical to the GFS. It actually has an even more vigorous cutoff there, sitting in the Western Lakes. And again, that 50-50 low is going to be a player. I'm talking about the low that's out here. They call it the 50-50 low because it's right around 50 degrees north and 50 degrees west. It's the one that's south of Greenland. Uh, that'll be one of the key players in all of this to see how this comes out. So, this is one of those situations, folks. You've got the puzzle pieces that you wait sometimes years to see, and then you wait to see if all those pieces do come together or don't come together. I'm of the opinion that since we're talking about something that's still 168 hours out, I'd rather the models have trouble with it than, because obviously, you're not going to get certitude at this point. But I'd rather the models have trouble with the system and just kind of do things all over the place. And then as we get closer and closer, it starts to zero in on something, more developed, and then you can figure out where it's going to be, as opposed to having it show a big snowstorm, out in the long range, which that it's not in the next run, it's going to be something that's going to look different. And I'm using this is the 18Z run, by the way. So here's the lead system. We get that burst of snow. Of course, we get rid of this is tonight into tomorrow. And again, there's not a lot here that's going on in the Northeast. The low pulls away up the St. Lawrence River Valley. Pretty sizable snowfall for Quebec, for New Brunswick, and points east and northeast from there. You can see all the action in the west. Very big. Look at all that moisture coming into California. That dark blue in the Sierra Nevadas. I mean, it's massive. We've got the cold to high comes in for Friday, and then here comes the next low. Again, this is another one that's going to go to the west. There's the severe weather potential for Saturday being shown. You can also see the snow that runs out ahead of it, changes over to heavy rain into Sunday morning. And then very cold air comes in behind it. Big high comes down from Canada. And then you start to set up the system for Wednesday into Thursday, which the GFS eventually makes into a big storm out in the ocean on the 18Z run. On the 12Z run, It had the kind of perfect setup. So look, something's going to happen for the middle part of next week. Ultimately, we'll figure it out. But we're not going to figure it out today. It's just a matter of it's just the fact that all the pieces are here, Joe, for a major storm. Can you see a look at CPC because it was still in their long range view today, so it might still be on the map. I don't know if they updated it today
About what now?
on CPC. When they put that slight risk of a heavy snow, the map that they put that on.
Um, I will check.
You showed it yesterday.
Yes, I will check. I haven't looked at that today at all, but I will check right now and see whether or not they have the. Yeah, I know what you're talking. I know what you're talking about, and I suspect that they're going to hedge a little bit now. That some of the models are saying yes, and others are saying
Well,
no, and
some of the models were saying yes and no yesterday, so nothing's really changed from that respect.
okay. Let me see. This is for snow.
You can
Well,
share it if you
it's
can share it if you like.
okay. Well, I will do that right now. Here we go. All right. Well, last night, if you remember, this map was showing a two-part storm, one for the 19th and 20th, which extended all the way down into northeastern Texas and Arkansas and Tennessee and up to Kentucky, and then the second half, the 20th and the 21st, for much of the Northeast into New England. Now they've consolidated everything into a slight risk for February 20th. That is next Thursday.
Right,
And that area for slight risk reaches just about up to the metropolitan New York area. There you see it right there.
right.
And the reason that they have drawn that is that, as we've mentioned, that the Canadian, for example, taking it out to sea and not touching us at all. The European giving us more or less a glancing blow. We're getting snow, but not all that much. And the GFS, the 12Z run this morning, gave us what looked to be one of those historic storms, 1 foot to maybe a foot and a half. But as you just saw on the 18Z, they have kind of pulled back a little bit on that particular idea. So the CPC still has a slight risk for some heavy snow, but again, it looks like it's going to be a much better shot over over North Carolina, Virginia, West Virginia, as opposed to up in New Jersey, northern New Jersey, New York, and north of there. For much of New York State and New England, they are out of that zone for a slight. Now this could change. Again, this is a week away.
Well, no, but they're done after that today because the stuff that was in Arkansas, Tennessee, all those places yesterday is now in WPC's pocket. And it's in their long range. Okay, so
Right,
it comes out of CPC's. So tomorrow, when they add the extra day on WPC, the CPC thing is going to disappear, and it's going to be on the
right,
WPC page.
right,
So just everybody should bear that in mind because I saw a few people sort of saying, "Oh, it was there, now it's gone." No, it's not gone. It's on WPC's page because it becomes once it gets to the seventh day, it's their problem. It's no
right,
longer CPC's problem. All
right.
right. Do you have Briller Jeopardy?
Yes, I do.
Okie
I
doke.
do indeed. And um, we're going to get to that just in a moment as I get onto the Facebook page here and go over to Scott's questions. If I can find it. Yes, here it is. So, on this Briller Jeopardy tonight, the average snowfall for the month of February in the following cities. And the first city of the night tonight, average snowfall, is the Motor City, Detroit, Michigan.
I'm sorry. We're
Snow
doing
in
average
February.
snowfall for what?
For February in
For
Detroit.
February?
Yes,
For Detroit, I'll say 15.
that's a good guess. Slightly a little bit more than the actual number, but still a good guess. Now, Christopedia says 12, and so does John Melander. Um, Frank R says 15. And also, Mike Waterhouse Bonsai says 14, which is in Snake Country. Oh, no, not, yeah, Snake Country with a 14. And I'm just looking to see if anybody
So
else.
that means Mrs. Hutch 53 is 13.
Yes, well, Maggie P says 12. She's in Snake Country. So if that be the case, the magic number, Joe, is
13.
13. And there
Miss
you go.
right, Mrs. Hutch 53 said 13. So she got it right.
Well, there she is.
Ring the bell for Mrs. Hutch.
I will do that. Mrs.
Please
Hutch,
do.
that's for you, which also happens to be Renata's cousin in Rush, Kentucky. Very, very good. Congratulations. Why don't you now, Renata? I know you're watching. Now's the time to call your cousin, uh, or send her a text. Anyway, moving on. Hartford, Connecticut, land of land of insurance agencies.
Hartford, I will say 14.
Another Snake Country number. You're right in there, Joe. 14, almost,
Melander
almost
says 15.
15. There, we're going to ring the bell again for Mr. Melander. 15. 15 inches average snowfall in the month of February in Hartford. How about Indianapolis?
Indianapolis. I'll say, hmm, I'll say 8.
8 is a good number. Vincent Croce has a slightly better number with 7. And Jason Fox says 8. Patrick Dorsey, however, hit it right on the nose. Pat, you got it with 6. 6 inches average in February in Indianapolis. Now, how about Louisville, Joe?
Louisville?
And yeah, well, you know what? I've asked this question before.
It's
Let's see if
Frankfurt. Next.
right.
Louisville is Louisville. I'm going to say
The question was what? How do you pronounce the capital of Kentucky? Louisville or Louisville? And you're right. The capital is
it's
really
Frankfurt.
Frankfurt. Yeah.
I want to say 4 or 5, so I'll say 4.
You're hot tonight, Joe.
Would have thought, you'd think they would get more than that, but the Louisville's kind of in a funny place there in northern Kentucky.
4 inches.
4.
How about Mary Richards' favorite spot, or Mary Tyler?
Minneapolis.
Minneapolis, yes.
Well, February in Minnesota is usually where the deepest part of the cold air is probably not one of their bigger snow months. So I'm going to say, I got a feeling it might be less than 10, but I'll say 10.
You and Steve Lapointe get the bell.
Oh, I got
But
3 bells tonight.
yeah,
I
my
did get
God,
pretty good.
you're doing hot. Now here's a good trivia question. What was the name of the weatherman at WJM at
Oh, you mean Gordy?
Gordy?
Yeah. Played by John Amos.
Yes, absolutely. I thought one of the funniest lines that ever was uttered by Ted Baxter was on the episode where the snowstorm knocked out all of the teletype and telephone lines.
Right.
And he had nothing to talk about on election night. They were waiting for somebody to come in with more votes or whatever. And about 2:30 in the morning, here's Ted, half tired, says, "Oh, I see Gordy the weatherman has just dropped in to say hello. He's going to tell us all about what makes it snow right after this next commercial."
Yeah.
The bonus, the bonus, Toronto.
Oh. What did we say for Detroit?
13.
13. 15.
Oh, oh, so close.
Is it 16 or
Mark David said
14?
Mark David said 15, but yeah, you once again, Joe. You're in hot tonight. You're in state country
Yeah.
with that. Frank Scalera, however, got it with 14.
14.
14.
Oh, okay.
And now,
Yeah.
very quickly, I'm going to tell you my Toronto story. We're married less than a week, Renata and I, this is 1984, and we decided we go to Buffalo and we go to Toronto for the first week of our honeymoon. And one of the places we were going to go to is the CN Tower, the tallest freestanding structure at that time. I think now it ranks seventh, but in North America back then it was the tallest freestanding structure in North America. This huge, tall tower, and where the ballpark for the Toronto Blue Jays now sits. In '84, it was nothing but a huge parking lot. And so we entered the parking lot, we get on the line for the plot, and we're going up to the booth where the guy is going to collect the money for, getting into the parking lot. And I nudge Renata and I say, watch this. And we get up to the lot, to the booth, and I say to the guy, excuse me, sir. He says, we're new around here. We're in your fine city. He says, we're looking for the CN Tower. Can you tell us where that happens to be? Now, mind you, the CN Tower is like literally right in front of us. This huge towering structure going halfway up into the sky. And here I am, playing the role of some dummy, asking the guy in the booth, where's the CN Tower? The look on the guy's face, I wish I had a camera. The look on the guy's face was like, huh? What? And all he could do was just point. He's pointing to the tower. And I turned to Renata, who now is looking like this. She's got her both hands over her eyes, like, she's like so embarrassed. And I said, you see that, Martha? I told you that's the CN Tower. I told you. There it is right in front of you. And you didn't believe me. And then I give the guy the money for the parking. And I said, thank you very much, sir. Thank you so much. Thank you. And then we roll away. And we get to a space where we park the car. I stop the car. I turned to her and I said, I just wanted to give you a preview of what you're going to have to expect for the next 40 or 50 years. And we're married now 40 years. and I've told that story innumerable times, and every time she just like shakes her head because she's hurt. But she knows. She learned then and she knows now. That's exactly what she got.
Right.
Marrying me for 40 years. Excuse me, sir. Where's the CN Tower? Anyway, my Toronto story.
Right.
I said to myself, I wish there was a way I could have gotten. Of course, he's dead now. Bert Convy was the host. Tattletale. Did you see the game show?
Yeah, I remember.
And they'd ask the couples sometimes, a story or an anecdote, and he said, do it in 3 words, so this way your mate would know. All I would have to say is CN Tower story, and Renata would ring in immediately and know what that is, or Toronto story. Anyway, I'd like to get back to Toronto. I haven't been to Toronto in 40 years.
Well,
So,
next wedding anniversary.
yes, maybe.
Okay. All right. We will see everybody tomorrow night. I was just looking at the European, the 18Z European, which gives about a nice burst of 2 to 3 inches on Saturday, and the GFS gives 3 to 4 on the burst, and even the NAB gives 2 or 3 inches. So it'll be interesting to see. Uh, they all count, even if it gets washed away afterward by rain. It all counts toward the seasonal total. So we'll be back tomorrow night. I remember tomorrow night is at 8:30. Okay, 8:30 because I'm doing a talk for the New Jersey Weather Observers at 7 o'clock. So at 8:30 we'll be doing the Joe and Joe Weather Show podcast. I will try and record the talk and I'll post it as a separate video on my YouTube channel. So everybody have a great night, stay safe, and we'll see you tomorrow. Bye bye.